I just want to be very clear that this is not something that I'm making up. I'm going to zoom into his voice so you can see that he's talking. It's very important that you understand that the deep state wants to build a narrative of climate change. So what they're going to do is they're going to use all the government resources in order to create more storms. So he's going to go on for a few minutes here talking about the disaster relief. And if you'll go right here to President Biden Nova's remarks reaffirming his speech, September 2nd, 2023, and just listen very carefully to what he says on minute 7.
Young woman's bedroom.
Let's go to minute 7. We're going to fast forward.
To thank the emergency responding personnel who are working 24/7 here in Florida and throughout the Southeast, and in Maui, in Hawaii. I want to reiterate that appreciation today. I also convened my entire cabinet as part of a whole-of-government response. And that response is to increase the number and intensity of the extreme weather events and be wary we're going to use all the resources available to the government. Part of a whole-of-government response. And that response is to increase the number and intensity of the extreme weather events and be wary we're going to use all the resources available to the government to do it. Is to increase the number and intensity of the extreme weather events and be wary we're going to use all the resources available to the government to do it. Is to increase the number and intensity of the extreme weather.
Now, why is he saying this? Because the entire job of the World Economic Forum is to get the United States and people afraid of the extreme weather, okay? So all of this extreme weather is being created by the government for the purposes of driving their new agenda into these new energy platforms that are 300 times more expensive than the current energy model with nuclear, natural gas, coal, oil. Let's listen to the reason why he states why they're doing this. He's going to give you the reason right afterwards.
Events and be wary we're going to use all the resources available to the government to do it. Nobody can deny the impact of climate crisis. Nobody going to use all the resources of the government to do it. Nobody can deny the impact of climate crisis. 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 Nobody can deny the impact.
Okay, so what is he saying? He's saying we're going to create storms to drive us to a new economic model so that you cannot deny the climate crisis. Now, I want to point out a few very critical things to this that are live, things that we can actually look up. So a couple things. We're going to look up United Nations weather treaty. And this was in 1976. Okay, United Nations General Assembly adopted the Environmental Modification Convention on December 10, 1976 to prohibit military and hostile use of environmental modification techniques. The convention aims to prevent techniques for severe weather, widespread, long-lasting effects. It came into effect October 5th, 1977. So we can look at that resolution. Here, the resolution was adopted according to the historic, and you can look this up on Wikipedia, look up United Nations General Assembly. So this is not what you would call fake news or false news. The other thing I want to show you is a couple of images. So here's an image of the lasers. So they can use lasers to superheat the storm. That's one of the ways that they can control this. Now, there were several experiments that were done with this many years ago, some of the evidence of which is actually acknowledged by Congress. So in 1976, 2 years before this, and I'm going to give you a clip on that right now. But before I do that, I want to show you that even Congress passed laws in 1976. So here we have a U.S. Gov. You can go to the 94th Congress, Senate Bill 3383, and the text message. Here we have the National Weather Modification Policy Act of 1976. Here you can see the law enacted. Congress finds and declares the following: weather-related disasters and hazardous, blah, 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 blah. Weather modification techniques have significant potential for preventing, diverting, moderating, or ameliorating the adverse effects of such disasters hazardous. What I'm basically telling you is they knew about this in 1976. The bad guys have taken this technology from the special access programs, and they have ostensibly then now taken these and turned it and weaponized it on the people to convert the economy from a cheap energy economy to an expensive energy economy. And it's companies like BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, China, and those who are investing in these really rare earth materials. It's also one of the reasons they're drowning out North Carolina. There's the lithium mine there. Go ahead and look that up. That's for a different, we can do a deep dive on that sometime. So here's the actual findings. The interstate nature of climate and related phenomena, the severe economic hardships experienced as a result of the occasional droughts and adverse, blah, 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 blah. You can go on to read this, okay? So there's the information, 94th Congress Senate bill. So let me get going with this. So we've got UN, we've got the United States acknowledging these things, and then we've got some really good stuff. So Project Cyrus, let's look that up. So here is Project Cyrus. So Project Cyrus was the first attempt to modify a hurricane. It was a collaboration of General Electric, the United States Signal Corps, Office of Naval Research, and after several preparations of initial skepticism by government researchers, they were able to do it. They took some B-17s, B-29s. And how did they do it? They took 180 pounds of crushed dry ice into the clouds. The crew reported pronounced modification in the cloud deck seeded. It is not known if this was due to seeding. Next, the hurricane changed direction and made landfall near Savannah, Georgia. Turns out that they took credit for this. You can go on to read this on Project Cyrus. The scientist who was working on it got so excited, was like, oh my gosh, we did it. We actually, so 12 years later, it was admitted the storm had in fact been seeded, right? So they called it wacky, tobacky, and then they came back out later on. They were like, yep, we seeded the cloud. It was successful. And they're doing it today. They're doing it today. And you just heard the president state that. So that they are doing it, that their administration, the deep state, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the U.S. government, the military-industrial complex, BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street. Remember, BlackRock just met with Ukrainian leader Zelensky. They're interested in the fertile soils there for Monsanto and Bayer and these other big ag companies. They're interested in a war with Israel to profit off of that, right? They're interested in a lot of these lands. So let's go back here and let's see. I'm doing a podcast. Please don't disturb me.
Government response. And that response is to increase the number and intensity of the extreme weather events and be wary we're going to use all the resources available to the government to do it. Nobody can deny the impact of climate crisis. At least nobody intelligent can deny the impact of the climate crisis.
Okay, so that's the first step, is that they don't want you to be able to deny it. The second step to this whole thing is there's multiple videos out there that are revealing very keenly that this storm was actually modified. So I'm looking for the videos now. So a couple of things that you should know. That another reason why they may have attacked, I don't want to speculate on the attack. I want to show the evidence in the actual NOAA data. So here's the NOAA data. On X, we can look this up yourself. So right here, what you want to see, there it is, the spiral. So you see that spiral right here that was activated. So they activated it with the sound wave frequency generator. I don't know if it's space-based. I don't know if it's a plane flying in a pattern inside the storm and seeding it, but it grew bigger, 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 pushed it right up into North Carolina. Ladies and gentlemen, we're looking at live weather modification for the purposes of encouraging people to move to a new economic model that are controlled by the global elites. They are not interested in the people. They don't care what they destroy, what they hurt. They're using lasers. They're using sound. And here's the other thing. There is actual sound technology. So let's take a look at this. Sound technology to increase the strength of a hurricane. Let's look at patents. We're going to go to patent. Here it is. That's the tornado device. Here we go. So here's our patent. So you can go right here to Google. You can go to patent number US 2003. That's 2003 00852961. So here's your patent on how they're hitting it. And when they hit these clouds, when they hit with these sound frequencies, look at how they do it. They perturbate them on both sides. And what does it do? It creates a spiral, right? So we see that spiral actually magnifying here in the center. Boom. There's your spiral. There's your technology. We are under attack by our own government. Get this information out. Share it far and wide.